Hello and welcome to the 37th episode of the Gochuucast, and it has been the long-awaited Crunchyroll Anime Awards voting session because we can take a week without having to think about a topic. Yay! Anyway,
Yay.
we're just gonna going through all these. Uh, I have looked through all of them on my own channel, but I don't know if I don't think it's bad.
I've loosely glanced through all of them as I was thinking of things that I would nominate. So I made sure that like some of the things weren't nominated that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, and I don't think Spence looked at all, right? Or
no, I actually did look through all of them, but some of them.
So we're all
recognized, and some of them are like weird. Like, yeah, we'll talk about it. I guess
we don't have anyone to be like, what?
I guess to preface, fall 2022 was not eligible because Crunchyroll's dumb. So if you're wondering why there's no Chainsaw Man, no Bocchi the Rock, no Mob Psycho, they were not eligible because we can't have nice things.
And I guess for that, we probably won't really talk about them because there's a lot of good stuff in the fall. That's fair. I did not write down anything from this fall purely because I just wanted to talk about things that were eligible.
Yeah.
But there's definitely stuff from the fall. Like, I know we'll get to stuff like best score later, but I've said this before. I think Bocchi the Rock has one of the best like collections of music of probably the past several years, not even just 2022.
Yeah, but we'll just be going through this list here. We'll save Anime of the Year and Best Original for last. I don't know, they're just chilling at the top. So we'll just be starting here with the Best Character Design, in which Crunchyroll and their judges nominated Demon Slayer, Ranking of Kings, Spy Family, Dress Up Darling, JoJo's Part 6, and Cyberpunk.
JoJo's is kind of a fun one to have here. I actually think I didn't write anything down for this because I think Osama ranking is probably the thing that I liked the character. It's hard too because character design in a lot of anime is also just like, oh, how well did they do the original source materials art style?
Yeah, I feel like Spy Family is a weird one to have here because I don't feel like anything is like that creative in Spy Family.
Like, I don't think Spy Family did anything. I think the other 5 of these are fair.
Dress Up Darling only because it's like cosplay and stuff, and I guess that technically counts.
Yeah.
Demon Slayer is a little odd here, but it's fine.
They have goofy character designs. It's probably why it got in. I don't know. I'd have to like
Spy Family wasn't like a super unique thing, but it's Spy Family, which got nominated for like everything.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have put it here, but
I think like also with like you mentioned it's like it's a lot about like how well they like adapt the design itself from the like source material and stuff like that. But I guess it would depend on like how much like liberty you take with like I guess I know we mentioned like character design and art style are like 2 different things and stuff like that, but like
yeah,
I feel like there's still like some liberties that you can take, as you're moving from one form of media to the next. So I feel like that still factors into it. Like
it does. I mean, when I look at this, one of the things I thought of, and I didn't watch this anime, was Call of the Night, which is not one for one exactly the same as the source materials art style, but it's similar enough that it feels like it's doing it justice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like also like the 1-to-1 thing. It's just like, I don't know. Some manga like have like specific or like unique, quote unquote, unique art styles themselves that just like lend themselves to like not being as easily 1-to-1 translated to anime and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's just like
it's
just some of the liberties that you're going to take is just it's going to affect how people perceive characters.
Yeah, like Demon Slayer's art style is just I'm going to be honest, the art is like just like the show mid. Anyway, with that jab out of the way, I'm not kidding though. The manga's art is like nothing to look at and be really, like,
yeah,
it's rough around the edges. Obviously it has its panels that like can like look generally fine, but for a lot of the time you have like the goofy like dot eyes as like the character. Obviously the Ufotable needed to take a lot of liberties.
Yeah, Ufotable improves a lot upon the Demon Slayer art.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't mind Demon Slayer being nominated here. But Spy Family art is really good.
Yeah, I mean,
And
yeah, I just don't think
it's not that they don't improve on it, but I feel like I would rather shout out something that
literally
did
anything else.
something a little more unique, I guess, or like
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to dog
are,
on the
It really
adaptation.
feels very like 1-to-1 from the manga art.
It is. It's very 1-to-1.
I think it just has
like if I compare Demon Slayer and stuff, it's like
it has like everything to do with that. The characters just look like, other than Anya, everyone's just like a basic human being. You know, it's nothing like
that's true. Yeah,
it's nothing that crazy. The only reason like I look over what Dress Up Darling does is because there's the cosplay aspect to it.
There's all the cosplays, and
because otherwise they are just normal.
Dress Up Darling has moments in the source material where it is not totally clear, I guess, how with some of the cosplay stuff it should be designed. In particular, there was one I'm thinking of. I think it was like the little devil Uroge game thing that she cosplayed as in the manga was like they just made like chibi art and shit like that for it, and so it was kind of unclear for a good portion of how that should even be designed in animated format.
But yeah, no, I think the rest of them I think are fine to be here. I just Spy Family's awkward to have. I think.
Yeah.
So do we want to also, after we talk about things that maybe should have been nommed or shouldn't have been, do we also want to say who we would vote for?
Yeah, we can.
For each category of what's here.
That's what I did in my pretty much entirely for my video on the main channel.
I think that's fun to be like, here are things we think should have been up, here are things that shouldn't have been up, and based on what's here, this is who we would vote for.
Yeah.
Which I've already said, I think Osama ranking is probably the one I would vote for a lot here.
I haven't seen Osama ranking, so
yeah,
it's a very and that's fine. It's a very, very hard art style in my opinion, and so
I
think the anime looked really good, even with a very difficult art style. I think to sell to people, and to me that means a lot.
Yeah. When I did my thing, I voted for. Well, I didn't actually vote because they wanted me to sign it, and I didn't feel like doing that. But I would have voted in theory for Cyberpunk out of all of these. I haven't seen JoJo's or Ranking of Kings, so just going purely based on what I had already seen. I did mention Ranking of Kings though as something that like I still respected like the design and character work for.
I think Cyberpunk is a good one here to vote for, also
because it's original.
Really cool.
In fact, it's original, and I don't know how similar it is to the game, but I'm assuming the characters they made are like original characters.
I'm pretty sure they're original to the anime. I believe.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely one of those things that, no offense to the adaptations on the list, like Demon Slayer, but making original characters is really noteworthy to me.
Yeah, I think Cyberpunk did a good job, and of all of these, I'd probably, well, not even probably, I did say I would vote for it.
Yeah, I didn't watch Cyberpunk, so I can't speak too much to that, but knowing what I know about it, I think that that's something that I respect voting for.
Yeah, and also, I guess, like, I don't want to say difficulty, but, like, you know, just the difference from, like, how it is in, like, the actual video game to translate it to that, like, you know, just a 2D form of media. With you know, completely different art style from what it actually is. I think that's like a challenge that like
my understanding is narrative aside, because there's a lot of opinions about the story in Cyberpunk, but the actual design decisions, to my understanding, were really good for both characters and like the world.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
All right,
I feel like stuff like could have been over Spy Family. I feel like Precon or like maybe Shadow's House could have probably taken over that slot.
I think Shadow's House probably Precon, and we'll talk about Precon because
is it cheating because it's a gacha?
I think Precon should have been. I think Precon should have been up for a few things, but this one I'm not sure of. I think Shadow's House would be, because I've read a little bit of Shadow's House, and it's not that the Shadow's House art is bad, but I definitely do feel like it's a rougher art style compared to how nicely I feel like it's animated.
Yeah.
Also, like, quote
There's
unquote
also
like I don't want.
yeah.
Yeah. Also, like elephant in the room, or I guess not elephant in the room, or something you have to like always keep in mind is like the judges. I mean, at least from what I've read, with like how it works, it's like the judges are the ones who like nominate these things, right?
Yeah.
If I'm like, yeah. So like, it's always going to be like, even if they have like what 30, 35 judges or whatever listed there, you're kind of like, well, the more popular anime, it's like more people are going to have seen it and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
that's kind
because
of like it's always going to be biased towards that, right? So
yeah, because there will be stuff that I bring up, especially I'm sure things that Daniel will bring up that's like less popular things that obviously wouldn't be nominated, but they're still, in my opinion, worth saying. Like, I think it should have been if everyone in the world had seen every anime this season.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like they could consolidate the judge process more early. It's difficult because what I assume they do, I have no idea how the inner workings of that stuff goes. I'm guessing they give them every category and they're like, all right, rank 1 through 6, and whatever the most common are, they probably slap up there.
I wish if that is what they do, I wish they would go deeper. I think is how I would. Not necessarily, like, I'm fine with them giving us a top 6. But
so the way it is, I'm actually reading it right now. It's like they basically submit like 5 eligible candidates per category.
They don't even give 6. So
I feel like that's
no. And the six ones that are mentioned the most, become the nominees. That's all.
Because imagine if something like Summertime Rendering, which we'll probably talk a lot about in this episode of the podcast.
So was
like
it
number 6 for a lot of people?
Was it eligible for? Because is it U.S. release or Japanese release that it has to have for Crunchyroll
That's
awards?
Something I don't know.
I know they specify.
But Summertime Rendering started in what?
Okay,
Summertime Rendering start April this year.
It would have been eligible, but the U.S. release didn't happen until like a little bit ago, like this month.
Did it U.S. release? Oh,
yeah, it was in. It was Disney jailed until earlier.
It is nominated for other stuff, isn't it?
No,
I'm pretty sure.
No, it does. It does not have a single nomination on here.
Okay, when did you say it was released, quote unquote released, like outside of Japan?
The U.S. literally this month. So
yeah. Okay. So how is eligibility determined? One of the points says at least one episode had its initial legal distribution outside of Japan between November 2021 and September 2022. So there you go.
So yeah, it's fucked.
If there's nothing between that range, then not okay.
Because there's a lot of Summertime Rendering stuff I talked about on here. I thought it had something, but as I'm glancing,
it's not eligible.
It's not eligible. Yeah, it's not there.
don't say all my hard work is for nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Summertime Rendering, if it was eligible, which I guess it'll be eligible for next year.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
Allegedly.
I should have been up for a lot of stuff, but I guess we won't talk about Summertime Rendering, or maybe we will.
Anyway, best animation. So
this is where I think Precon should have been.
The Crunchyroll choices were Akabi's Sailor Uniform, Attack on Titan, Final Season Part 2, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, Demon Slayer, Ranking of Kings, and Spy Family. So I'm one of the few souls probably in the world who watched Akabi's Sailor Uniform. As good as the art was, we've talked about before, art is different from animation. The art is really good, and it had its moments where like they went like absolutely crazy with like their still frames or whatever. But I would not say the animation at any point was like insane. It was still good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it showcased much that I would put it up here in like the top 6 for.
I probably agree with that. I watched 1 episode, 2 episodes, something like that. It has a nice art style to it.
Yes.
So like I get it, but I don't know. Like you said, when I think of animation, I think of like moving frames and stuff like that. I don't think of like this looks beautiful, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, these other 5, I haven't seen Cyberpunk, and I haven't watched Attack on Titan, but these other 5 are all probably fair nominations. Like, Spy Family is an interesting one to talk about here, because there really isn't that many extensive animation sequences in Spy Family.
Yeah, I would say it's probably the consistency more than anything for Spy Family.
It is. Yeah, and I would agree with that.
But I watched Cyberpunk. They did a very good job. Very like Trigger does a good job whenever they do things. Even if it's like the same show literally every time, it feels like. But they do a good job on the animation. Demon Slayer obviously is ufotable. You can't
we
go.
know they're gonna be here.
Yeah, unless it's like God Eater or some shit. Then
Kind of similar with
ufotable
Attack
does
on
good.
Titan. I didn't watch this Attack on Titan season, but it's Attack on Titan, and they usually pop
people
off.
are like, man, the CGI Titans. Like, yeah, shut the fuck up. They're like, it's not the only thing that happens in Attack on Titan. Is the there's still plenty of great animation within Attack on Titan. And I think it definitely deserves to be here. I don't know. People need to grow up with CGI stuff. Like, I don't think people don't understand how bad CGI can be until they think all the good CGI is bad. I'm like, have you seen some of the most demonic things that are out there?
I watched Zombieland Saga season 1. Yeah, I know how bad CGI
I watched Tsukigakure, one of my favorite romances, but god dang, that CGI is some of the worst shit I've ever seen in my life. It's so bad.
It's also like a lot of people probably like I don't want to say they don't recognize it, but they don't like if like something's like what you expect, it's like not something that you might be more inclined to notice. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of people, it's because of how popular it is probably, and a lot of people who watch Attack on Titan probably haven't seen as many other anime, and so they're not used to. Sometimes you just have to use CGI because it's not like Mappa is being given like infinite time on this. And the production company is probably breathing down their neck. Like, especially for to get the first part out of the final season, they had to make 16 episodes in like 9 months or some shit. And normal anime take like a year. Attack on Titan is not a normal anime. It is very heavy, intensive. Everyone expects great things. And so when you're given 9 months for 16 episodes, which is more than average for a more than average anime, you're just kind of fucked.
Yeah, you kind of need a little CGI, or it's just all gonna go down.
They did. And it's good CGI. Like, it wasn't perfect in part 1, but part 2, they like really, like, there were plenty of times where I didn't recognize it if I wasn't looking, basically. Not that it's like perfect or anything.
I think
but
like
that's
legit, like
that
not recognizing it is like a mark of when it's like done well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's funny about this category? I already mentioned it. Pre-Con season 1 last year was nominated to be in this animation category, and Daniel and I both, as pre-con enjoyers, kind of looked at that and was like, yeah, that's kind of a shill pick.
It's because
pre-con season 2 probably
sponsored the fucking awards.
Pre-con season 2 probably should be here.
Pre-con season 2 should be here. I wasn't because like the first like few episodes were like good, right? But I'm not like thinking too hard about it. But then like episode 4 happened. I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck? They popped off.
It absolutely pops off season 2, and that's what's kind of funny to me is that when it was last year, season 1 was up. It was kind of like, that's funny because they sponsored the awards.
I wonder why they're here.
Yeah, exactly. But now this year, they're not here, and I'm like, I feel like they kind of should be here. I also this is another eligibility thing. I don't know if it's technically eligible. But Danmachi season 4 had pretty good animation, and I have a feeling it's not eligible.
I mean the first part would have been first core.
It would be the first core.
I mean Danmachi's animation is like generally good, and I like, but I think probably what
I don't necessarily think I would have put it in my top 6, but it's probably worth like.
I wouldn't have put it in the top 6, and then like no chance the fucking judges ever would. How many of the Kotaku article writers do you think have seen Danmachi season 4? So there's like no chance I gotta lead there.
I gotta lead with the Danmachis that people have seen. So when I bring up shit like Love Live, then it sounds less deep cut, right?
Yeah. And then
I bet not even I bet two total judges have seen Love Lives. That's my prediction.
Yeah, Pros he's actually on the awards list. He's not a judge. He should have been a judge. He's a good guy. He's also
I would trust him as a judge.
I would definitely trust him.
He's a little more than a Love Live fan. He's
in everything.
I remember back in the day seeing him post like his School Idol Fest polls on Twitter and stuff like that.
Yeah, but like he was on like Trash Taste or whatever, and he mentioned that like I think now he doesn't drop things, so I'm like, oh my god, he's just like me for real. Like he used to, and then he like changed his mind. He's like, I can't like say this is bad without having seen the whole thing.
Okay, but does that constitute like did he go back to his old drops and finish them, or is it just from here on out?
I think he has been going back. I can't remember exactly what he said.
I respect that a lot
because I think he didn't like Clannad's first season, but he went back and he finished it, and he said it was totally worth it.
It's fair. Oh yeah, slight thing worth mentioning off topic of the Crunchyroll Anime Awards. But for anyone who has been following the Daniel coin flip saga to try to get me to watch Clannad, he is finally, after 8 months probably of flipping.
It was back in June was the first flip for this.
So like 7 months probably.
Yeah.
Finally has won the coin flips, and so I now have to contractually watch Clannad at some point in time.
Is that like an expected, did it take the expected amount of time for, the to succeed?
So over time it has gotten easier. I think I calculated the odds of him winning.
Freebie, man. You can't do that.
Well, it's not a freebie. I think I calculated the odds of him winning the particular it happened last night. Particular coin flips he did last night, and I think it was like 6% odds of him winning, or something along those lines.
6% pretty low. So yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
because there were 2 flips that were guaranteed because of the way that he.
I have some handicaps. So
he has some handicaps, has a few cheats. For that reason, I don't feel super pressured to watch it this second, but I'll probably start it pretty soon.
Yeah, but it's just like I either get them all right, either I get them all wrong, I get them right but in the reverse order that I typed them in, or I get them all wrong in the reverse order that I typed them in. So there's four ways to win, but it's still absolutely like not in my favor.
Yeah, it's still pretty out of his odds, but it was like a realistic chance that eventually he would have won.
It's better than when I had to get 10 flips with no handicap.
Yeah. And last night, by random chance, I was just like, let's do 6 flips today.
Yeah.
And he missed all 6 of the flips, which is a win condition. But it is funny that he finally won by getting them all wrong.
It's honestly pretty impressive at this point. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough scene, but it's a long time coming. But we should probably go back to these awards.
Yeah, we'll go back to the awards. It's just you mentioned Clannad, and I was like, anyone who had been following that sequence and doesn't know that happened.
Yeah, and then with best animation, I feel like this is definitely where it starts to get a little wacky wild that we couldn't have fall stuff because the fact that Bochi, Chainsaw
Bleach.
Man, Mob Psycho. I didn't watch Bleach either, but I saw some scenes.
Bleach. I'm sure Bleach is like...
Even like Kaguya could have been here. That's like 4 shows that definitely could have been here over like Akabe's Sailor Uniform. Like
Kaguya is interesting because as much as there are shows that I feel like every year when the Crunchyroll Awards come out that they put up way too much, I feel like Kaguya season 3 they may have under nominated.
I think people like underestimate how good like Kaguya's animation is because like of how much it lends to the comedy. The visual comedy
when I was
is the
looking
best.
When I was looking through, I was like, there's a couple things I would probably put Kaguya as like also nominated that it wasn't, and there wasn't a lot of things that I felt like Kaguya shouldn't be there.
Yeah. But I guess we'll move on here. We don't want to spend like 20 hours on each one. But best new series. So when I'll say their whatever's first, and then I'll give my piece. So Crunchyroll nominated Call of the Night, Cyberpunk, Licorice Recoil, My Dress Up Darling, Spy Family, and Kogming. So when I did this in my video, I looked at it as the way I did my voting, just to like cut some fat off to make it easier for me. I looked at Cyberpunk and Licorice Recoil as 2 things that technically series could mean just like 1 season if you really want it to be, but I feel like series should like generally refers to something of like multiple pieces. Cyberpunk will never have another season. Licorice Recoil makes a shit ton of money, so it probably will have another season, but for right now we don't know. But all these other things right here have the potential to continue, with Dress Up Darling and Spy Family already being confirmed to continue. And I would not be surprised if maybe Kongming or Call of the Night get another season at some point.
It's also a little odd to me because there's Best Original Anime, which
which like
doesn't necessarily. It's like different.
I mean,
and I get the idea of also like putting a thing like Licorice Recoil and Cyberpunk here, but maybe I'm just generally the type of person that's like, let's have as many things as possible win awards.
Yeah, it's just
within reason,
right?
Right.
Like, yeah.
I will say, in Cyberpunk's defense, they do not count it as an original.
That is fair.
I mean, it's based on.
It's based on a game, technically.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. They don't care whether
I don't know. I feel like these nominations are fine.
I think they're fine. I'm just saying, like, how I view series.
Yeah, we already talked about Summertime. Probably not eligible. I think if it was eligible, I would have it here. I'm a simp for Awashi, but I do think Awashi is one of the top 6 best series of 2022. But that's probably a broke opinion.
Yeah, if it were me, I think I'm generally fine with what they have, but I would replace Licorice and Cyberpunk because they're not going to continue with like Bocchi and Chainsaw Man probably.
Well, yeah. For my picks, I'm not gonna mention The Fall because I think The Fall was just really good.
I want to give some credit to Fall because I hate that like by next year I really hope people remember Fall isn't allowed.
So I will say based on these, it's like a 50-50 because there are some things on here that I feel like allude to the fact that they should remember next fall because they remembered some shows on here, but then there's other things that I'm like, I don't know. Did they forget? Yeah. Last fall wasn't my favorite season to begin with, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah. We'll see.
But
between Chainsaw Man and Bocchi the Rock, like surely, and Mob Psycho, like surely they'll be like, oh yeah, fall was kind of heat this year.
Yeah. Also, okay, so like another thing with the eligibility, real quick. So like the thing is, you have to meet like all the criteria, right? So like, if it was aired, throughout the past year or whatever, and it didn't, like for Summertime Render, for example, it's like literally not eligible for next year because it's not like it didn't have like when next year's awards roll around, it would have to be aired in Japan from November 2022 to September 2023, right? So like there's so many animes that are just gonna be like left.
What'll probably happen is next year, in the case of Summertime Rendering, it'll probably only be the second core. So this is something that happened this year with the Osama Ranking of Kings. Only the second core of Ranking of Kings is eligible for these awards, but technically the first core aired. It started airing in Japan in October of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So if the awards made sense, even with their
they don't make sense.
Time frame,
they don't make sense. We'll see next year. There's no point in speculating.
They already, they already don't make sense. But even within their own timeline, they still cut off half of fall 2021 anyway. So it's like I don't know what's going on.
Like
with that.
I get trying to combat like recency bias, but hear me out. JJK wouldn't have had to like win a bunch of shit 2 years in a row if you just didn't let things be eligible until they're done.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like if it's a split core, I get it, but if it's a continuous like airing like JJK was, then like you don't need to have it as core 1, core 2. Just wait for it to finish and then have it be eligible.
That's like the main thing I don't like about Osama Ranking is the fact that it's only core 2, because I think if it was the entire series, which is barely not eligible, then I would feel more comfortable voting for it for some of these later categories.
Yeah. But
I think given those nominations, though, probably I would vote Best New Series as like either Kong Ming or Licorice Recoil. I liked Kong Ming a lot, but if Licorice Recoil counts here, it's probably the best of the 6 things that I watched over the past year.
Yeah. I said Spy Family simply because I gave my own stipulations for like what I view as series.
What a series is.
Yeah. It would have been between these two anyway, probably. Cyberpunk was like, it blew the ending for me. I still liked it, but the ending, I didn't agree with the direction it went. Yeah, I feel like it maybe needed another episode or 2 to flesh certain things out so it can go in a more proper direction that they were setting up. But anyway, best continuing series.
Look at this giant.
Crunchyroll has nominated Attack on Titan, Final Season Part 2, Demon Slayer, JoJo's Part 6, Love is War Season 3, Made in Abyss Season 2, and One Piece, which I mentioned in my video. Like, okay, One Piece. Yeah, One Piece has been continuing for 20 years. You don't need to have
One Piece.
Man. I don't want to say anything.
One Piece had a really good year, but why is One Piece here?
Yeah, I just
That's coming from a One Piece fan. I love One Piece.
Goofy to have it here because, like, yeah, it's continuing, but it has been like you don't need to put it here every year. It's just weird, in my opinion.
I think 80s part 2 should have been here.
Yeah, but, just something else. Something else.
I can't tell because it shows up at some point. It does have 1 or 2 nominations. I don't remember exactly. We'll see it later. So it's eligible, but it's hard to fight One Piece when people are clearly putting One Piece up here, which I get it. One Piece had a good year. It is technically continuing, but like, I don't know.
I would have had either 86 or like Mushoku on here like instead of One Piece. I think it's just better to give something like the newer anime.
Yeah.
I think it's like a running.
It's also like One Piece didn't do like JoJo's did a new season, right? It did a new section of its story.
One Piece is just One Piece.
Yeah, it's just like continuing, right? It's not like a distinct thing. Or I guess it's the arcs, right?
It's the same arc it's been doing for the last couple years, which it's doing good. There have been great episodes this year. It just feels like a different beast.
Nomination issue, man.
Everything else nominated. But I feel like One Piece gets put here every year. I think it was like that last year too, which I get it, but I don't know. It's like a weird. Like,
also, it's like so like also for this one, it's also like, is it best continuing series in terms of like, if you just compare all of them, or just like the best?
So I think you're supposed to vote.
Continuing series, you know what I mean?
I think you're supposed to vote for the section that happened over this year time frame.
Sure. Yeah.
Because like all of Stone Ocean, I think, aired over 2022, right? All of the Made in Abyss season aired over 2022. So it wouldn't make sense if I'm only voting for those sections because it's the specific season they're noted as, but then I'm voting for the entirety of One Piece.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
So I want to say it's in the case of One Piece, for example, it would only be the section of One Piece that aired between November 2021 to whenever September 2022.
See, this is why One Piece just shouldn't be here, so you don't have to think of it like that.
This is why One Piece
I agree.
Exist, man.
I fully agree. As a One Piece fan, I feel like One Piece, because they had like special awards too that we don't see the nominations for. I feel like One Piece should just get one of those. Just give them some bullshit special award.
The One Piece,
give them the One Piece.
The One Piece award.
Yeah.
Hey guys, don't forget One Piece is happening.
But
yeah, they have like the special.
I know Made in Abyss's like thing was like pretty well received, right? Like,
I think Made in Abyss is anime of the year personally. Even if it wasn't there on Crunchyroll's thing, I think it's anime of the year. So obviously, I think it's the best continuing series.
Made in Abyss, but I've heard only good things about it. Yeah, so
we could replace One Piece with whatever. It doesn't matter because Made in Abyss is my vote.
Not counting.
Honestly, with these, even though I haven't seen it, Made in Abyss might be my vote too. Because for me, it'd be between that and Kaguya probably. And I don't know if I think Kaguya is the best continuing series. So
I will say. Let's say in theory, put like 86 Part 2 there, it'd be technically score-wise, it'd be tied between Made in Abyss, Attack on Titan, Kaguya, and 86, as far as I have them. Though I Made in Abyss, I still think like I think it was a great season, and I can gush more about it later. But
we'll be back with Made in Abyss content throughout the night. 86 season 2 or part 2 was definitely to me the best continuing series, but
it's not here.
It kind of feels so the judges didn't forget it, but it kind of feels like it was one of those things, and probably it wasn't helped by the fact that it had such a weird release circumstances behind everything that I feel like a lot of the hype behind it kind of died a little bit in real time, and so in turn, by the time you get to these, it's like a little soured when you're thinking of nominations. But
yeah, I'd say Made in Abyss for continuing. Anyway, moving on to a category that doesn't have One Piece, best opening sequence. So Crunchyroll nominated Kongming, Spy Family OP1, Ranking of Kings OP2, Attack on Titans Final Season Part 2 OP, Cyberpunk, and Demon Slayer Season 2. I do not agree with Cyberpunk in any capacity whatsoever for being here.
I don't know anything about the Cyberpunk opening.
If you watch it, you'll be like, when's it gonna...
Because to me, I don't
like it.
To me, when I look at this, I see 4 like not iconic openings, but 4 openings that had their moments in like the popular eye this year, right?
Yeah.
And then I see the Osama ranking opening, which is very good.
Yeah. I've listened to it at least, and so I think...
and I see the Cyberpunk one, which I think I've heard and was not overly impressed with.
Visually and music-wise, it's fine. It's not my style of music, but visually, it's like, you're just kind of like looking at whatever. I don't know, it's kind of goofy.
I think the outside of Cyberpunk, these 5, if I had to make a list of who I think should be voted for, it's probably those 5, just because popular. For a lot of these song ones, I limited myself to 2 choices of things that I could say that could be nominated, because I could go on a lot of openings and endings and songs.
Make a top 10 OPs list of my own.
That's fair.
And tragically, a lot of them were not eligible to even be...
It feels like a recurring issue. Huh?
Yeah, Urusei Yatsura was my OP of the year because I love Minami, and not eligible. Bocchi the Rock's OP, not eligible. Renai Flop's OP, not eligible. Chainsaw Man's OP, not eligible. Blue Lock's OP, not eligible. I think Arknight's OP, not eligible.
Not eligible, yeah. Those are all all fall.
Of my top 10, only Summertime Rendering, not eligible.
Yeah, not eligible.
So of my top 10...
Yeah, I don't actually really like both of the Summertime Rendering openings. So. Of
my top 10... the only ones that were eligible were the Overlord 4 opening, which I don't know how the fuck that didn't get on here. And then Spy Family's first opening, which is on here.
Is on here, yep.
And then Awashi's second opening, which is not on here.
Not eligible? I don't know.
Awashi's eligible, yes.
I'm not well, because it's outside of Japan release. I don't know.
What Goofy? Did it not...
For the second core.
What happened to the second core?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's eligible.
I think it's eligible. I just don't think anyone watched it.
That's also fair. Yeah, Awashi's second opening's really good. The 2 that I wrote down that I think never in a million years would have been nominated and definitely wouldn't have won, but I think were really good openings of the year was Colorful Dreams, Colorful Smiles, which is the Nijigasaki Season 2 opening. Which is a really good song, but nobody watches Love Lives. And then The Warrior, which is the opening for Salaryman's Club. Which nobody watches sports anime, but you're going to hear Salaryman's Club a few times as we talk about stuff.
I feel bad.
Badminton, right?
It's badminton, and it's like adults at an office who also are on their office badminton team. And it's probably... to me, the second best sports anime that came out this year behind Awashi. And that's only because Blue Lock is a little bit monkey. I love Blue Lock, but I think
Blue Lock is extremely
monkey. I think Salaryman's Club had a really good story, really good animation, like good songs along with it. It did everything right. It's just one of the openings I mentioned is an idol show and the other is a sports show, and not enough people watch either of those for them to get any real traction. Yeah. But I think both of those were really good openings that
I have
would probably
to
crack my
Award.
top. Yeah, they probably would crack my top 6 of the year. Might not win, but probably would crack it.
You'd be just one of many votes. One of many nominations.
The Kongming one is like fun as an opening, and that's why I'm fine with it being here. I just don't think it's like...
I didn't like it that much. Yeah.
I actually think on this list, my favorite opening, both music and visuals, might be the Demon Slayer one.
It's Emerson, can't really go wrong with it. And then Ufotable, obviously. I think
it's probably on this list, Demon Slayer, then Osama ranking, then Kongming. Would be my top 3 of what's nominated.
Yeah, I would vote for this because it's the only thing on my top 10 that made it in. So
understandable.
Me when 7 out of 10 are not eligible. Yeah.
It's okay. We'll be here next year when Bocchi the Rock is definitely on this list and not forgotten.
Yeah, I have something for another category for Bocchi the Rock because it's like the music and stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. Moving on to best ending sequence, we have Akuma no Ko from Attack on Titan, Comedy Spy Family, Koi no Yukue from Dress Up Darling. I'm not going to bother trying to pronounce that right now. Brain not work it. Well, I can get it. Kosha Berry Biori. Yeah. Kosha Berry Biori from Komi Season 2. My Heart Has Surrendered. Love is War Season 3. And Yofuka Shino Uta from Call of the Night.
So I have a quick question. So
yes.
The Kaguya song, is that the actual Season 3 ending that was the...
Season 2.
Is that the Season 2 ending? Okay.
Yes, that is the Season 2 visual, so I would assume it is the Season 2 ending. Yeah.
How is that?
I mean, I like Fantastic Youth. They're the group that did it. I just don't think it's top 6 ending.
How is that eligible?
What do you mean, how is it eligible? It aired in winter, yeah, I think.
Yeah.
It was either winter or fall.
The second season?
It might have been fall. I don't remember. Worst case, it was worst case winter. No, it was spring. It was spring. It aired in spring.
I didn't realize that.
I think season 1 aired in fall.
No, it'd be season.
This is the season 3 ending.
This is season 3.
Komi doesn't have. No, what? Komi doesn't have.
No.
Oh, Kaguya.
Kaguya.
Okay. I thought you said Komi. You said Komi. Okay, I could have sworn.
I thought I said Kaguya. Maybe I said Komi.
I think you said Kobe.
Oh, okay. I see.
Maybe I just can't speak English. Anyway, Kaguya is what I was asking about.
This is the.
It is the. Yeah, it is the
not. It's the not rap one.
Not. Yeah.
We will see the rap one later in a different category.
Yeah, I'm upset about that category.
I don't know how the rap one is not.
Talk about it.
Because like Kaguya's ending is like fun, like wacky, wild. Was what I said in my my video, but it doesn't deserve to be here with a fucking rap one. If you're gonna have an ending here, you may as well put the rap one.
These ending choices are. I don't want to say they're bad, but these
I wouldn't say these are things that I look at.
To me, this is like a clear show of the fact that even the average person on Crunchyroll's awards list probably does not actually listen to very many endings.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like there's a category where it's like not a lot of people are just gonna like really think about like go
for
back
my favorite endings of the year. Some of them are these. Like comedy is great. I actually like the Dress Up Darling ending. I don't know if the Dress Up Darling ending would make my top 6. Probably not, but I do like it.
Yeah. I do have a top 10 EDs as well. Let's go through this one and see how many.
How many are eligible. You can knock off all 4 Bocchi the Rock endings because.
I didn't have all 4 in my top 10 actually. Yeah, so I had Bocchi the Rock ending 4, not eligible. Bocchi the Rock ending 2, not eligible.
Not eligible.
Ari Feretta season 2. It was eligible, but no one on planet Earth besides me and like 3 other people have watched Ari Feretta season 2. I did have comedy, which is on here. I had Masquerade from Shadow's House season 2.
Masquerade Shadow's House is one of the ones that I like Claris. Anyone who knows me knows that Claris is one of my favorite groups. So
I had a title that's really long and in Japanese, and it's not in Romanji, so I can't read it. It's the second ending to Summertime Rendering, not eligible.
Yep.
I love the endings of Summertime Rendering. They're so good.
8th Chainsaw Man ending, not eligible.
Not eligible.
Akuma no Ko is here. And then Endless Embrace, which is the Maiden Abyss season 2 ending, which is eligible. It's not here. No one's based enough. And then Deep Down from Aimer, which is the 9th ending to Chainsaw Man, not eligible.
Not eligible.
So
the other song I had here, which is probably not a song that should be in my top 5 EDs for the year, but it's Sunrise from Extreme Hearts, because I have to, at some point talk about Extreme Hearts.
You can't bring Extreme Hearts into this.
It was one of my favorite things I watched this year, not because it was good or anything. It had idols and sports all in one and good music and all of that. And I liked Extreme Hearts a lot. Sunrise is probably my favorite song from the show. and I think it's worth mentioning. It probably doesn't belong anywhere near an actual nominations for awards, but in my heart, it's pretty good ending for the year.
Yeah. But out of all these, I'd probably say it's tough.
It's probably just comedy for me.
Akame no Ko and comedy are both very good. I can't remember what I actually voted in my fucking video. I think it was Akame no Ko. But comedy is like a very close second. They're both very good. Very good
Throughout
songs.
the year, I probably have listened to the Dress Up Darling one the most, but that's just because I had a period of time where I was like, yeah, I love this ED.
Yeah, I didn't care for it too much personally. Not that it was bad.
I think the vote for me would probably be comedy, but I also think that while comedy may be what I voted for no matter what was on here, I also think there was a lot of really good endings that should have been nominated over some of these.
Yeah. But let's see, moving on here. We have best score. Continuing with the music.
I feel bad about this one.
So
Go ahead.
we have we have Spy Family done by No Name. We have Cyberpunk with Akira Yamaoka or Yamaoka. Sorry. We have Kong Ming with Genki Hikota or Hifumi Incorporated. I guess I don't know what the fuck why they have that there instead of just the fucking name, but sure, go off. Yeah, Attack on Titan done by obviously a fucking Sawano industry legend, and then Kota Yamamoto, Kevin Penkin, Made in Abyss, and for Demon Slayer, Yuki Kajira and Go Shina. Now, personally,
so I was saying, I was like, oh, go ahead. No, you go first.
I think Made in Abyss clears all of these by a country mile.
Made in Abyss. I haven't watched Made in Abyss. Knowing what I know about Made in Abyss, it probably clears this whole list.
Based on what I've seen for the first season, I wouldn't expect anything less from the second.
So, I think 6 season 2 also should be here. It probably for you, Daniel, doesn't stand up to Made in Abyss still, but I feel like it's a worthy adversary.
I think like 86 part 2, like it's another Sawano thing. I think it probably should have been here over Kong Ming, let's be completely honest with ourselves. I like Kong Ming's music generally, but they use the same song literally like 10 fucking times, and I swear to God, every time I heard her start singing that fucking song, does everyone in Japan know that in that universe? It's like insane. How does everyone know it? But anyway.
Yeah, Kong Ming had great songs in it. I do not think the score was very good. I think that this is something where perhaps the voters don't know the difference between what that means.
There's like songs which like we mentioned Bocchi the Rock. Bocchi the Rock's score was like fine, but it's obviously the music, the songs that are like the big part of Bocchi the Rock, the opening, the endings, the insert songs. It's not score is like the background.
Not what
music.
I would call the score.
It is the OST that matters, and I do not remember a single fucking thing of Kong Ming's OST. Spy Family
other
was
than
a fine OST. Cyberpunk actually had a really good one. I don't like a lot of them kind of like insert songs on like AMQ or whatever, but I think like generally it's just they use actual songs for their OST, and so they all count.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like. And I
don't particularly remember Demon Slayer's score.
Yeah, I don't remember jack
any
shit.
Of that type of stuff, but like I'm sure it was fine.
Yeah, I don't know if
did it deserve to be here? Probably not, but like it had a score, surely. Yeah,
it doesn't anyway. Regardless, Kevin Penkin, I think clears. Yeah, Attack on Titan score has always been good. I think that's just a given. But yeah, Kevin Penkin outdid himself with season 2 of Made in Abyss, so I have no reason to vote for anything else.
Yeah. I do feel bad. So
this
I was
is
saying,
definitely one of those moments for me where I haven't watched Made in Abyss, but it almost certainly deserves to vote here.
I wouldn't
like completely misled about the show, which I know I'm not.
Yeah. So I was saying like I don't remember if I mentioned it last time, but like I think you guys were talking about like Bocchi the Rock and like how all the music in that show is really good, and it's like unfortunate it wasn't nominated because like I don't remember if I mentioned it last week, but like I listened to like most of the songs on like Spotify and stuff like that, and they were good. So I was just like, damn, that could have been a good nomination for this one, but
it would have probably just taken
best anime song,
Cogning's
probably.
Best anime song, sure, yeah. I guess the
Cogning's
score would be more of like the
best
background
score, but
stuff.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it probably would have taken Cogning's
that makes
place
sense,
based on how they put things in here, but
yeah.
But yeah,
Then I think Made in Abyss would be good because it's like I remember from the first season at least, it was like they were always really good at like situationally like the thing about like music is like supposed to enhance like what you're seeing, right? So
Yeah.
like I think the situational like tone of like the music and stuff like that was always really good with that show. That's one thing I'm like 100% sure that show always did like really well. So it wouldn't surprise me if hopefully
season two did so good. It's so good.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
But yeah, I would say it probably, if I had to vote something not Made in Abyss, I guess it'd be between Attack on Titan and Cyberpunk. Maybe Attack on Titan I give the edge because that one was just really good. But
I can see that.
Cyberpunk had a good OST as well. But moving on to
best film.
Why the fuck do they not just have all the songs in a row here?
Yeah,
Who
no,
made that
don't
decision?
worry. We'll have the best anime song rant in a second because I'm pissed about this category.
Anyway, best film.
I'm fuming.
So best film we had for the nominations.
We have the two good films that aired this year, and then 4 also rans.
So they nominated Bubble, Dragon Ball Superhero, Inuo, Jujutsu Kaisen 0, One Piece Film Red, and The Deer King. So Bubble looks great. Bubble sounds great. Bubble fucking sucks. Everything else. I could not ever justify giving it this award, no matter how good or it looks or sounds. Yeah. Just based off of I haven't seen any of the others besides Jujutsu Kaisen 0 and Bubble. I have to give it to JJK 0. I
think JJK 0 and One Piece Film Red are by far the 2 best anime movies that came out in this year and actually have been able to been watched this year. There's some other stuff like I think Slam Dunk technically came out in the fall. The Diamond and Pearl movies that we've talked about a lot obviously haven't been able to see them yet because not translated. Sarune had a movie that's a recap movie that probably doesn't need to be mentioned too much, but Sarune always pops off with its art. So, but I think of the 2 things that aired this year and were seen this year by the majority of audiences worldwide, I think JJK 0 and One Piece are kind of by themselves, and then there's everyone else.
I feel like I've heard The Deer King is good, but I might be insane. Maybe I heard it was awful, and I just like gaslit myself into thinking I heard it was good. I don't know anything about it.
I don't know anything about these other 3, so I could, be surprised and watch something like Deer King and be like, okay, this one was really good.
I just know that I didn't watch this because I am Dragon Balled out. I am so unbelievably tired of watching.
Balled out.
Yeah, I have seen the same shit for Super was the pure definition of mid. Any Dragon Ball fan who tells you otherwise is on absolute copium of nostalgia and such, or just they're just Dragon Ball fans. We put them. Did we put them in special place in hell? I'm pretty sure we put them in the special place in hell tier. We had to have. There's no way we didn't put them in special.
There's
anyway,
no way we did.
Yeah, I think JJK 0 out of all of these I've only seen 2, but I think I would give it to it.
I think JJK 0 would probably be my vote too. I know Lucia will get mad at me if I don't mention this. Review Starlight had a weird airing situation where I don't know if it would be eligible here, but Review Starlight had a movie come out over the past year and a half or so that's maybe eligible, maybe not, and it was pretty good for the series, so maybe that should have been here. I don't think it's eligible because it aired in Japan in June.
Yeah, I think it's the English.
I'm pretty sure it's not eligible, but the English release was during the criteria.
It was. Okay, yeah, here's why. Yeah, no, actually, I don't know because it says premiered in North America, but it got delayed in Japan. So
yeah, it's weird. I don't know if it should be eligible. If it should be eligible, maybe that is something that deserves to be here, but never would have got here because no one watched Review Starlight. But for Lugia's sake, I'll mention the fact that it had a movie that was pretty good.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the thing that
I'm
should have been in this row.
Fucking category in here.
Okay, so
what is the point? What is okay?
Well,
I'm gonna rant right now.
Let me read out the things, and then you can
right.
All right, so we have the Kongming's opening, Spy Family's first ending, the rap ending from Love Is War season 3, Shadow's House season 2 opening, Attack on Titan final season part 2 opening, and I think is that the Ado song?
It is.
Okay, the Ado song from One Piece.
There's a lot of Ado songs, but this is like the one that most people would know.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
All right. I don't understand the fucking point in having a best anime song section and then giving the nominations to 2 openings and 3 endings.
No.
That are not
to
even
3 openings. 3 openings. 3 openings.
Oh yeah, 3 openings.
Okay.
You're right. 3 openings. 3 openings, mind you. Shadow's House was not nominated for best opening, but it was nominated for best song. That's a little weird, but I'm glad to see Shadow's House on this list for something at all. So pop off.
I'll tell you why actually this happens. I mean, it's a survey thing. Like if you do this in like a certain order, right, you're like less likely to give the same answers for like a subsequent question, even when like that would be,
so like people who are voting
so, like,
Kaguya made sure to put the first Kaguya ending for best ending, but then for best song they were like, this is where I'm gonna put my nonfiction.
Yeah, okay, sure, maybe a little bit of that too. Yeah,
but again, I don't know. I just think I know like openings, endings, inserts is an AMQ thing, and it doesn't matter stuff like that.
It's not even just like inserts are like an actual industry like term or whatever. I guess at least it's like the anime chosen term for.
I feel like if you're gonna have a best anime song category, it should not be open for.
It should be either inserts or specific tracks from an OST, probably.
When you say inserts, you mean like just songs that play like during a certain point of the episode.
Yeah.
Well,
songs that play or like
usually
so
how
like
it's
Idol
done is it's like separate from the OST, but it's like it's an actual song.
Yeah.
So like for example, Bocchi the Rock has a bunch of songs in it, right? I don't think the Bocchi the Rock opening should be in this category. But if you wanted to have a song from one of the concerts in Bocchi the Rock, even though they're the same general production quality, I think that's the type of song that should be in here.
Yeah. So like, okay, so here's the thing, right? So like one of the shows that I talk about a lot was Nagino Asukara, and I like the openings and endings, but like one of the songs that I like really like just because of the scenery and stuff like that and like what was going on near the final episodes, was just an insert. But like again, like when people are voting, they're gonna remember the songs that like
they hear the most.
appear the most. And also like that insert for me, it was like honestly like hard to find the song itself because it was like I don't know, it was like
for what really it's worth, Spat, I understand, but stop defending these assholes. That's because I think what is the point in this category if it's just a glorified another category for EDs and OPs?
It's always just going to be it's always going to be biased towards those.
So on that note, the 2 songs that I think came out this year that I would want to be in here. No, they came out this year, but the ones that I think should be would be my 2. I don't want to say my 2 favorite songs that came out this year, excluding The Fall, obviously, because there's a lot of Bocchi songs that would be on that list. Are Dreamer from Kongming, which was sung by Aiko. It was the song in the last episode or second to last episode. It was the one where they're on the little like party bus thing, and they're fucking jacking all the fans at the end, and it makes no sense that they're able to do that, but it was Pog, right? And the song was like nice and emotional and everything. And I like that because it had like meaning to it other than just, oh, here's a Pog song.
Yeah.
And the other one is Circle Thanks Music, which is from the Bandori 5th anniversary special, which nobody in their right mind would know aired this season or have watched it if they were a judge. But it's just a really nice song with all of the Bandori bands basically, thanking music for the positive impact it's had on their life and all sorts of stuff. And as someone who's really connected to music, it was like a really nice emotional song that I liked a lot. And so for me, those are the types of things that I like prefer in these categories, things that had like an impact or something and wasn't just hey, here's round 2 of OPs and EDs for all of your loser OP and EDs that didn't win the previous category.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it feels like. But
yeah. Anyway, moving on from this heated category.
His least favorite category.
Yeah. Best director, they have nominated Hiro Sotozaki from Demon Slayer, Hiroyuki Imaishi from Cyberpunk, Kazuhiro Furuhashi from Spy Family, Shingo Adachi from Licorice Recoil, Yosuke Hata from Ranking of Kings, and Yuichiro Hayashi from Attack on Titan.
All these people hate you for mispronouncing their names, but
I perfectly pronounced all of those.
They basically took the 6 most popular anime according to Crunchyroll. It said here are their directors and nominated.
It's like also it's like
I don't think a soul on that voting list, other than a few people, actually knows what good directing
Yeah, that's
means.
what I'm saying, man. Like, also, it's like talk to like involvement in like the production. I mean, like in like everything. You know what I mean?
There's obviously a lot of background stuff that goes on, but I think when we talk like general directing, it's what you see in like the final product versus.
To me, it's what makes a really good directing performance is not having a good anime. It's having an anime that either elevates its source material in the case of the adaptations on here, or I guess in the case of something like Licorice Recoil, it would be having anime that tells like a really nice, succinct story, you know, makes use of all of the plot points it puts forward and everything. Doesn't have to end the plot points, but makes use of them. Yeah. And is like well put together.
So I guess what I'd like to put forward in terms of how I view direction, I'll use 2 examples, I suppose. I'll use 3. We're gonna go big here. 2 from fall season. Bocchi the Rock, I think, which would have fucking I think
Bocchi
would be the winner for this category for me.
As someone who's read the manga to Bocchi the Rock, it is one of the best directed things in terms of the definition I just said of taking a source material and elevating it. It went above and beyond.
Yeah, so you not only elevate, but you add and you flesh out. Completely off topic, I didn't even like think about this, but The Last of Us TV show just started coming out, and I watched the first episode. I have not watched an episode of something like non-animated in so long, because at this point, like, I haven't. It was like since fucking Walking Dead season 9, which God knows how long ago that was. But I'm just kind of like burnt out on shitty television, and so I heard The Last of Us adaptation was good. I'm like, okay, well, let's check this out. Let's see how they did the game. Because most game adaptations are fucking dog water. Case in point, like Resident Evil had a Netflix adaptation that got horrifically received. Mainly because they choose like the names or whatever of like the properties these days to like elevate their whatever story they want to tell. Like Velma just came out or whatever, and it's like not Scooby-Doo at all. But anyway, I'm too off topic. But what Last of Us did is the game had probably one of the greatest openings in games ever to a lot of people. And so how you adapt that to a TV show, maybe it would have felt a little too fast if they just done the opening like, you know, bar for bar, frame for frame. But what they did is they added on to it and they fleshed it out. And I think what they did was really good because it didn't contradict anything. And it added out and fleshed out some characters and some relationships to make the intro more impactful whenever it did happen. And so I feel like that is how Bocchi the Rock basically went. And then Chainsaw Man as well. There's something, I read the manga after the anime, and there were some things that got cut. You're like, oh my god, I can't believe this got cut. And I read it. I'm like, holy shit, I'm so glad they cut that. That was fucking pointless. Not that they were like bad things in the manga, but I think it flowed the anime better than like it was like episode 2. There would have been like a random like little sequence or whatever that would have been pretty much irrelevant. I think it was probably just like some small action sequence so people would stop being like, I don't know, because Shonen Jump, just surviving Shonen Jump, you got to make it pretty far in your chapter count to not get axed.
Yeah.
So that's probably what it was. You got to stick your fucking beginning so people can just keep reading. But I think they did a good job there. And then I would like to give credit to something from this season of winter 2023. Typically, I was wholly expecting dog shit isekai from the Yuri one from Magi Revo, but I think we talked, I think it was last
So
week,
I
about
actually-
series composition.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the source material is probably fine, because if you have absolute like doo-doo
Yeah,
dog
so
water,
I
it would-
I actually do want to talk about Majirobo source material in the context of this conversation, because there is an interesting comparison with what you just said about Chainsaw Man and the Majirobo adaptation.
yeah, but the way that it was, I mean, you obviously have to have like some sort of substance in your source material to be able to properly direct. But what I would have expected probably from what we've basically said, it seems to be taking its time generally when adapting its episodes, which
Yeah.
something that has also aired this season, Angel Next Door. It has crushed my heart that the adaptation is absolute dog shit. They hired a director that has never touched anime in their life. I don't know.
no.
I literally went on to AniList. I'm like, all right, let's see what this director has done before. Because dear lord, this
Nothing.
is awful. Nothing.
Not a damn
Just
thing.
Angel Next Door. That's it. That's the only credit they have to their fucking name on this website. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Oh my god, you do not hire someone with no experience. Like,
Not for this.
no, for anything. You at least sometimes when you go to a director, they'll have done other things like key animation, or maybe they'll like be an episode director. No, this motherfucker did nothing. Jack Diddley squad, zero, zilch, nada. I'm like, why are they directing this? This is one of the top selling light novels in Japan at the moment. You do not throw like your average Joe at that kind of project, I feel like. Anyway, rant over. What you should do is you should take your source material and you should aim to basically tell the best story that you can, instead of just like, all right, this is what they said here, we're going to copy that to the script and we're going to move on with our life.
Yeah, so you brought up Majirobo, and it's fun because Majirobo kind of did a similar thing to what you were saying with Chainsaw Man, where there was a lot of content in the light novel that either got condensed or cut or reshuffled around and stuff like that, to the point where it almost feels like a different product than the light novel entirely, even though it's the same story being told.
Would
But
you
not
say
to a
they are
point that
good
it's bad.
changes?
I think they were good changes because of the fact it's an anime. So, for example, there's like an entire 30-page chapter explaining the way that the entire magic system works and how it relates to, you know, the invention she makes and all of that type of stuff. And it's great. I loved reading it. I would not enjoy sitting there for 15 minutes in the anime episode getting the entire rant about magic. So in episode 2, they sped ran it a lot, that explanation, but in episode 2 they just gave like the clip notes of it.
Yeah.
They were like, oh yeah, the spirits make it so we can make magic, and spirit stones power the machines and stuff like that, right? They just said that and moved on with their lives. And so I've enjoyed the changes in the anime a lot, even though I feel like it almost has a different vibe to what the light novel had.
Yes. So back to the awards. We got a little off topic there, but not a topic, off track.
Yeah. It was directing still. I think
Tangent. This tangent.
Salaryman's Club I mentioned earlier. I think Imi Yamauchi, who is the director for Salaryman's Club, did a fantastic job with that series. And once again, probably would not stand up to the Supergiants in any nomination at all, but I think it's worth noting.
Yeah. Out of all these, so with Licorice Recoil and Cyberpunk, I still love Licorice Recoil. I still enjoyed Cyberpunk, but I feel like especially towards the end, I feel like Licorice Recoil got really lazy with some of its directing. So Chisato can like dodge the bullets or whatever, which is all cool and fun. But eventually they're like, okay, everyone just expects the bullets to miss her. Let's just not animate her dodging anything, and everyone's just gonna fucking miss. And I'm like, you can't. I hate. That's my biggest pet peeve in any piece of fucking media. If you are going to have none of these bullets hit, just don't shoot them, or have like a more condensed firefight. Don't bullshit me. Like, every one of these trained fucking people are going to miss every single shot at someone just casually walking. Look,
yeah,
I can buy her dodging an entire AK clip. I cannot buy her walking past an entire AK clip.
I have a similar issue with Ranking of Kings direction, where it's I think it's from what I've seen probably was a very difficult adaptation. I've not read the source material, and so there were moments that I thought maybe were direction misses that maybe just had to be because it's not a average shonen or average seinen adaptation. But I have similar feelings with that, where it's like I enjoyed the overall direction. There were a few misses that make it more difficult to vote in this category.
Yeah. And then Cyberpunk, I don't know if I call it direction. The script writing, I guess, is what fell off at the end. And the director did the best they could with it, probably.
That's kind of how I feel from everything I've heard, is that Cyberpunk was great, but maybe the narrative dropped off at the end, which...
it was never like...
is a little bit of the director's fault, but this is something where I feel like that's more forgivable.
Well, it's not entirely... like, it comes down to... I don't know how involved they are with script writing. I don't know the process behind that whole thing.
A little bit.
They're not... obviously, they have a little bit of say, but not like all the say, because they're not the... directors aren't like story writers or whatever.
I mean, for
they make a story through visuals.
Understand it. It's like, I mean, it's just overseeing everything, right?
I have my degree in American filmmaking and stuff like that, and obviously this isn't going to be the exact same, so I'm just going to give that perspective. A lot of times in American film directing, it's you are hired by the producer and the production company to oversee a story that is already being written or already finished. And so you have artistic liberties to change certain aspects within a scene, like lines or how someone is going to deliver lines and stuff like that. Those are the types of things that you would oversee in an American film. But usually a director is not going to have a direct impact on changing anything in the script unless it's something that they're really passionate, like this has to be changed. And so in the case of like the ending of a series, I'm inclined to say that the director probably had very little say in any potential changes to the script for the series end.
The story itself is like it's a character-driven narrative. There's not really much of a story per se, but it's more about the main character and his like basically his downfall. He thinks he's that guy. That's like kind of like I feel like the theme of the whole cyberpunk thing is nobody's that guy. Everyone is human, I guess, at the end of the day, even if they're all like robotic and stuff. You can only do so much. And they were kind of like building up and up to a point where I thought I always knew something was going to happen, but it's the way that it did. Just like they're like, okay, we are 8 out of, or we're on episode 9. We only have 10 episodes. We got to wrap this shit up. We got to get done with this. And so I feel like you've had another episode or two, maybe to flesh certain things out. It would have been a little better, but it just kind of felt like I remember someone walked into the room when I was watching it, and I paused it real quick because it's the fucking finale. I don't want to miss anything important. And so I talked to them or whatever. They walk out, look back to my screen. There's 5 fucking minutes left. I'm like, what the fuck? How the hell are we gonna end this in 5 minutes? And they just did it.
They ended in 5 minutes. That is one thing that you can say about it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh well, I guess we're just done. There's not really much to say. We're finished, and that's just, I don't know. I think the director did the best with what they had, but I think the script writing really fell off.
That's kind of how I want to approach this too, where I think this might be something that I might actually give a lot of credit to the cyberpunk director on, whereas there might be some other categories that it would be like, well, cyberpunk kind of flopped the ending. Yeah, potentially. I didn't watch it, so I can't speak to that too much, but
depends on who you ask, basically.
I always view like this kind of like category as like almost like coach of the year in like NFL or something like that.
Yeah,
like
basically it's coach of the year goes to whoever coaches.
It's like
coach of the year goes to whoever coaches the best team 90% of the time. And that's basically what's going on here. Whoever wins best director will probably be the director of it'll probably be the director of whichever these anime wins anime of the year.
Yeah. So basically, congratulations to Yuichiro Hayashi of Attack on Titan for winning best director.
Exactly. for just
that's my personal vote anyway. But
just for taking the manga and doing what you were supposed to do, which, to be fair, is
I
harder than you would
wouldn't
think.
say that they only just did what they're supposed to do. I think so. We mentioned.
Well, that's why I say it's harder than you think, but I'm still gonna meme on it and say just doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, but like Kevin Penkin, he was on Trash Taste as well, and he mentioned that he wrote a song for he had a song or whatever, and it was supposed to go in a different place, I believe, but the director heard it and like, holy shit!
What if we
put this at the beginning? And they did, and it was like really well received.
And it was great.
Yeah, and so a lot of Attack on Titan has a good score. We talked about it earlier, and while I said Made in Abyss is better, Attack on Titan obviously still has a great score. And so knowing when to use all those things, and there's a lot of impactful scenes in season 4 part 2. I think there's like just one I say could have been handled better, but there are some that were handled like incredibly well, especially with how like it's very like impactful. I don't know, impactful source material. I think they did a good job. Anyway,
all right,
we'll just move on, I suppose.
We'll move on. I think it's hard, given that I have only watched 4 of these. 2 of them I think had not necessarily direction issues, but things that
could have been
I was
better.
like, that maybe could have been done a little better. Yeah. And then there was Demon Slayer, which I don't think had anything particularly crazy it did.
Yeah, so best main character. So I feel like what they failed to recognize with
what a main character.
No, well, there's that, but they failed to recognize what you do what happens when you remove best boy and best girl from the categories. They must now be consolidated into main character or supporting, which I think hurts considerably.
I'm gonna have a big rant about the supporting character because
but going through main character first before we get to best supporting and we hear another rant. So we have their vote of Boji, Chisato, David Martinez, Eren Yeager, Lloyd, and Marin for best main characters.
So this is gonna bleed into my rant for supporting character, but I don't think Lloyd was the best main character from Spy X Family. And I think that's the problem, because when we get to supporting character, we're going to see a character and supporting character from Spy Family. And I don't think they should have been there.
Yeah. I have to like look at my fucking thing a little bit more to find like a replacement, but I don't think Marin should be there either. So I think I think her and Chisato would be fighting to the absolute fucking death in best girl category, but they had to get stuck here instead. I don't think
best boy and best girl makes so much more sense to me when I actually see this laid out.
Yeah, so like I would say literally the only two. I haven't watched Ranking of Kings. I don't know anything about Boji.
Boji is definitely the main character.
Well, he's the main character. Would you say he's a good character in the character definition sense?
Yes.
Okay, so taking your word for it there, I would say literally only 3 of these have any like weight in terms of main character, how I view them. Like actual depth to their characters. Not that like Chisato didn't, not that any of these people don't have any level of depth. But I feel like it's
as far as the main character. As far as
the main character, the guy who's supposed to be carrying your series, like Eren makes sense. He's had one of the, most.
Love him, hate him. Eren has had a character arc.
He has had quite the journey throughout all the seasons of Attack on Titan.
Let's say one of the characters of all time. Used to.
Then David Martinez from Cyberpunk. Like I said, the whole thing was like based around him and like this mentality of he's trying to be that guy when no one in reality is that guy. I think, despite me not agreeing with how everything ended, I knew that's where things were going to go, and so I think they generally did it did what I expected it to do, and so I think he's worthy of being here. I don't know anything about Boji, but a lot of people like him, so I'm sure he's fine being there.
So Boji, I wouldn't consider this a spoiler for Osama ranking, but one of the main aspects of Boji's character in Osama ranking is the fact that he cannot speak. He is mute.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of characterization that has to happen with his character that is not vocal because he physically cannot speak. And I think that is done extremely well in the anime adaptation. And so I do think that despite that, being a harder way to show his character, he is a main character that a lot of people understand and empathize with anyway.
Yeah, so
to me, that's worth putting him here.
If it were up to me, Chisato and Marin would be sent into the best girl fighting pit void. Lloyd, I don't think I'd have here. I don't know who I'd replace for all of these. Some of them would probably come from like the fall.
So
we missed out on having Mob and Bochi here as like main characters.
So a character that kept coming to mind for me was we've talked about it a lot. Shinpei from Summertime Rendering.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would be in my top 6 for main character, but I think he is a main character and he is a strong main character. And that's more than I could say for some of the nominations here.
I don't think I'd have him simply because, like, the thing with Summertime Rendering, I think it's much more plot based than his character, and so his character is like very static. But he's a strong main character in the sense that if you're going to have someone stay the same the whole time, thank fuck he's not. I'm gonna have to blur that one out. But anyway, sometimes the word stupid just isn't enough. But thank fuck that he has some level of intelligence, because if I had to stick with some dumb fuck as the main character the entire time, actually, let me how long have we been recording? Let me go back and check.
Like an hour and a half.
Yeah, okay, like the 120 mark. I gotta go in there, change something.
Yeah. Make the note for that.
Make the note. But yeah, so if you're gonna have like static main character, I think he was a strong static one to have, because he was just right for. He did what he needed to do. He wasn't an idiot, and he made the plot flow because he didn't do stupid shit, and so I can respect that.
I also think probably my favorite main character of this season, not someone who would ever be voted for by anyone, probably was Kirishima from Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting.
Yeah, he was chill.
I think he was a fun main character. Does he deserve to be top 6 in the main character voting? No, but he's more of a main character than Marin, so.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say he's like. They're like this. They're both main characters, but like Marin, I feel like is she's not like, I don't know. No one in Dress Up Their Own is like that.
The main.
It has its theme, right?
My problem
no
with like a lot of these
character as I see it.
My problem with a lot of these, Liquor Recoil, Spy Family, Dress Up Darling, all good examples of this, is some series just don't have one singular main character. Yeah. And I feel like with this, and then when we see the supporting characters in a second, people tried to make it so there was one main character and everyone else was a supporting character. And I think that that's incorrect. I think those 3 are great examples of the fact that a series can have multiple main characters and it's fine.
Yeah, I would say I probably would have put 2 from like the fall season. We had 86. I would have put Shin, and then maybe even like Rudius up here from Mushoku. Not that I like him Rudius, not that he's a good person or anything, but I think the way that the second part ended, I like where his character is going, and I hope it continues to go that way.
That's kind of what I was going to say. I feel like Rudius will be here. I don't know if he's here for me yet, but I get it. I
just think that as I view the like actual sense of like character, I think he is better as an option than I don't think he's the greatest person, obviously, but that's something he's working towards, and that's the whole point of what I feel like a main character should be.
It's kind of the whole journey of Mushoku too.
Yeah, it should be someone working towards some sort of goal. Like Takina in Licorice Recoil sense is probably more of the main character than even Chisato is, even though Chisato has her own problem.
Arc, yeah.
In terms of her
character arc, I would agree with that.
In terms of character, she feels like she was changed infinitely more by the series than Chisato ever was. Because I feel like Chisato was more on the plot end of things. Not that she didn't have any character, but Takina was definitely the beneficiary of the character side of things with Licorice.
I think it's fine to have static main and like growth main like that, but I don't know. I mentioned
They're difficult to compare.
Yeah, I mentioned it when we had talked about supporting characters before. That what I hate about this is that, to me, I think Takino is a better written character than Chisato.
Yeah.
But they said, well, Chisato is the main character of Licorice Recoil, and not both of them. Whereas now I feel like Takino would have been a better nomination for this.
Right. Out of all of these, I'd probably put Aaron just because of like from point A to point B character wise. I'm looking at like the whole series, which like maybe a little bit of cheating, I guess, but like that's the whole point of the that's the whole point of character.
You're disqualified from voting.
Yeah, this might be one where I, knowing the source material at this point for Attack on Titan, this might be one where I feel like I should vote Aaron. But in terms of the other 4 that I've watched that aren't Cyberpunk or Attack on Titan, it's like clearly Boji for me.
Yeah, like regardless of, everyone has their opinions on Attack on Titan's ending, but we're not there yet, and so I'll be voting.
Yeah, the content right now is still good in
Yes.
Attack on Titan to at least the general public's consensus.
Yes, I can't wait for the second breakdown. But anyway, so before you start your round, let me just get through this. So in terms of supporting characters, we have, as Crunchyroll nominated, Ai Hayasaka from Love is War, Anya Forger, Spy Family, Kage from Ranking of Kings. All right, I need to confirm this. I said I didn't look at my video because I was too lazy. He's that little blob right there.
He's the shadow. Yeah, he's the little shadow.
Okay. Rebecca from Cyberpunk, Tengen Uzui from Demon Slayer, and Yor Forger from Spy Family. I'll go on your rant about how main characters are not supporting characters.
Okay.
So, just talked about Spy Family. Maybe it's more clear to me because I've read the manga to Spy Family, but 3 of the Forgers are the main character of that story as like a unit.
I don't think you need to read the manga to understand that they are the main characters.
Yes, I think that should be very clear that the main character is the Forger family, not any of them. But even if you want to single out one character from Spy Family to be the main character, Anya has the most screen time and the most impact on the story. So I don't understand putting Anya here at all, even if you're gonna have a bad definition. And it's, to me, I actually think the other 4 nominations, I don't know Rebecca, but from what you've said, it's fair to put her there. Those are probably all fair, but the Spy Family ones piss me off because there are so many good supporting characters, and to me, 2 of these slots were wasted, and probably will be won by characters that I just think are main characters for the series.
Yeah,
but we had to only give Lloyd the main character love because there can only be one main character, right?
I actually
think it has to be, not only is there only one main charder, it has to be the male. Clearly, the main character must be the strong male lead.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you don't tell them like who are the eligible ones, it's like what are they nominating? It's like what's viewed as like a supporting character. It's like, well, it could be a main character,
actually,
right? So it's like,
I actually think it's so much worse too that to me it's so clear in the source material that even if you had to pick a main character, it's Anya. But because Lloyd is the adult man in the series, he is viewed as the main character by the public.
Like, I think it's also because he was the first character we met, basically.
He is the first character we met, and that is fair. And to also be fair, the main narrative driving force of the series is Operation Strix, which is his operation. And though that is a argument to be had,
I think it's an argument. I think it's not. I think I don't care who's the main. They're all mains. That's end point here.
That's like the main point I want to have. But I also just feel like even if you had to pick one, Anya is like much more of the driving force of the story to me. But that's my rant on how the supporting characters was a stupid category to bring in because I feel like main character, supporting character is a line that not a lot of people
They should
understand.
just stick to protagonist, antagonist, best boy, best girl, and move on with their lives.
Yeah, but then we would have had to see Eren win both protagonist and antagonist for the 5th year in a row.
Yeah, I don't know if because when people think antagonists, I don't think they understand.
They don't understand that you can be a bad guy and still be an antagonist.
You can be a bad person and be a protagonist.
Can be a bad guy and still be a protagonist. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Antagonist does not mean evil. It means that you are obstructing the plot's progression in some capacity. You are
correct.
They are the reason that they're the conflict point, basically. When Eren is very much just the protagonist, whereas like fucking, I don't know, like in Spy Family, it'd be like the antagonist would be. There's not even really an antagonist. I guess because there's the main target. He's not really obstructing anything though. He's just living his life. But yeah, like,
there's not really a particular antagonist in Spy Family.
Anyway, failed example, but like the fucking demons in Demon Slayer, they are the antagonist because they are actively trying to cause problems in the plot's progression. So yeah, they would be the antagonist. Which
maybe there's an argument you could make for Eren that he is obstructing the flow of the plot, but I don't think it's an antagonist.
It depends on whose side you're on.
Yeah, it might just be because he's an anti-hero.
I
don't know,
type
anti-hero?
of thing.
Yeah, I guess anti-hero would be the best one.
Depends on how you. No, I'm. I'm not. We're not going to discuss it here. There's a lot going on there. Anyway, this is probably the dumbest category for me.
This category is so dumb. You love this category because they start fine. Anya, Boji are
just
both
fucking have best boy and best girl. I don't understand. It's not complicated.
Wait, did they explain why they removed it or like
no?
Why they don't have it?
I don't think so. They just chose the categories.
I don't understand why Marin is here at all.
Yeah, she's definitely not Marin. And
side note, I also don't understand Komi. I don't understand Komi either, but like I
understand Komi more than I understand Marin being here.
Yeah,
Marin's just girl, and so it's like protect girl.
Yeah,
I don't
protect
know.
Woman.
I feel like we could have done better.
There were like we could have had Yaika from
Yaika is the exact
Yaika should be on here somewhere. You cannot. Oh my god! There's no reason.
Tell me more people watched whatever the show is with Kotaro Sato than Yakuza.
Yeah, it says Kotaro Lives Alone, which is on here like 3 times or some shit, I think, and I definitely didn't watch it.
I've never heard
no one talk about it.
Watched it, but
this is definitely one of those shows where it's like how they had fucking Akumi's sailor uniform. They're like, damn, we gotta get something in the 6th slot. That's why they have them vote for 5 because they just throw whatever the fuck they want in the 6. Yeah, I don't know. I guess out of all of these, probably Anya. Considering I didn't watch.
I mean, you haven't seen Osama ranking.
Yeah, I don't agree with Marin being there. I haven't seen this either, and I don't.
To me, it's Anya. It's Anya versus Boji, and it's just pick your favorite. I think they're both fair. If this is the theme of the category, they're both fair choices. It's. I think this category just kind of was a miss from what was intended, based on.
Yeah, they should just have best girl, best boy, and then it gets the same effect.
Yeah,
basically.
Like Kage is a little bit of a weird choice here, but I get it because like he's the little shadow blob, but like he's also a kid in terms of like mental fortitude and stuff like that, and you know everyone has their dramatic backstory, and he has that too, and stuff like that. I don't know. I
think they were trying to like capitalize on like the must protect things like a meme in the anime community or whatever. I guess they're trying to capitalize on that. Anyway,
I think it felt a little flat.
It's appealed to the Zoomers, man.
So best action we had nominated from Crunchyroll, Attack on Titan, Cyberpunk, Demon Slayer, JoJo's Part 6, Licorice Recoil, and Spy Family. Out of all the, I didn't see JoJo, so I can't speak to anything there, but I did see the rest of these. Spy Family didn't have enough action for me to ever say like it had anywhere near the best.
Action?
Yeah, action is like extremely cope. It's just when they did have it, and it was it's not even when they like sometimes they had like one like decently animated like sequence or whatever, but most of the time it's just someone would get the absolute shit kicked out of them and like fly into the ceiling, and that it's like slapstick comedy basically. I would not put it here as like best action in any capacity. Licorice had action. I wouldn't say they ever went like above it. It was action. I would never say they went above and beyond for any single like moment of action. So where I would say it's the best. Didn't see JoJo's.
I'm sure JoJo's was like just.
I'm sure it was fine.
So much action, like only action, because that's how JoJo's is.
Anyway, Demon Slayer is like literally nothing without its action. Though I'm gonna be completely honest, I did not give a shit about any of the action until episode 10, and then that's the only part that really I cared about too much. Demon Slayer has this problem where they do like the typical shonen thing where they like exchange some blows and you're like, oh holy shit, that's so cool, and then they just like stop and talk for 5 minutes.
And then they have the really pog animation moment after that.
Yeah, but the problem with Demon Slayer, would not shut the fuck up. I hate every character in that show so much. And it's like all fucking copy paste dialogue too. They say the same shit over and over again. And I'm like, I don't understand. Anyway, Demon Slayer rant over. But other than like episode, like it was like end of 9 and then like throughout 10 basically, where it was like nonstop, just balls to the walls. That's like the only point where I felt the action was like worthy of best action type of thing. But Cyberpunk I felt had the most impactful action. And then Attack on Titan had some good, like really good sequences as well. But I feel like
when I was looking at this, category, I also kind of was like, there's not a lot of stuff this season, like in this year time frame, that I would really credit a lot of action to.
Yeah, I gave it to Cyberpunk in my video, I'm pretty sure. Just because I felt it had the most impactful action and like the most consistent. Like when there's action, no one's stopping to talk. Yeah, everyone's just fucking trying to kill each other. That's how the action went. Attack on Titans,
I think that's probably fair.
I feel like the best parts of Attack on Titans like recently has been more about the characters than, and like the moments where there's not a lot of action going on have been the best moments. Not that the fights and stuff aren't cool, but like the best moments to me are the plot twists, the character moments, all that stuff. So I would say Cyberpunk probably out of all of these.
I think that's probably fair. I didn't watch half of these, and like you said, 2 of these I don't even know if I would really classify as action of the 3 that I have watched. So
I'm telling you, it's just my anime list or analyst tags or whatever.
Yeah, they're like, this is the action.
I looked
through
the action tag on AnyList, and it was pretty bare for me, at least. Yeah. There was probably stuff that I didn't watch that was there that would have been great to put here, but for me it was like I couldn't find anything that looked particularly better than any of these 6.
They're like, oh yes, we can action tag on Spy Family, we can vote for it again.
I also think the fact that Awashi, Salaryman's Club, and 86 I would probably put in drama as opposed to action would have impacted that a lot, because if I could justify one of those in action I could maybe argue, but they're all kind of not.
So we got best comedy, which we have Love is War season 3, Kotaro Lives Alone, Dress Up Darling, Spy Family, Uncle from Another World, which I'm pretty sure did not even finish, but it aired.
It's not done yet. Yeah, it's not. It's still not done yet.
The last episode has been delayed for quite some time. And then Kong Ming. Now I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember ever.
None of these are really funny.
I did not laugh at Kong Ming. I did not laugh at Dress Up Darling. Spy Family depends. I can't remember exactly like any specific, but I probably did. I guess Love is War.
Spy Family has good comedy.
Love is War is the only thing here that even like remotely scratches good comedy for me. Basically, I guess.
So when I was looking through comedies from this year, honestly, the funniest thing I think I watched this year is a show I dropped, which is Aharon.
Aharon was very chaotic. I would have put it over something on here probably.
I think it probably should have been in best comedy, just because I thought it was actually funny, and I think I didn't think Dress Up Darling was funny. I didn't particularly think Kong Ming was a comedy or funny in any way. Spy Family's fine. Spy Family had a lot of visual comedy and like visual fun gags. So I don't like nominating shows for multiple categories, but like I'm not mad about it being here, other than I dislike having a show in action and in comedy, and then it might be in drama, probably not.
In Kong Ming? No.
No, Spy
Spy Family. No.
Surely it's
why
not.
non-funny
not.
shows get nominated for comedy. My cope is that
There's
they're
not a
using the
lot of
trash.
funny shows. That's
No,
the
okay,
problem.
but my cope is that they're using the old, quote unquote old definition of comedy, where it's just like not a sad story, you know, like a Shakespearean comedy where
Yeah,
it's always
yeah, yeah.
funny.
It's like
That's my cope.
fucking.
That's my cope. Okay, my
It's
head
like
canon.
Marvel comedy type of shit, where it's like, yeah, they have jokes in there. I don't know. Well, the Marvel comedy is like egregiously terrible. I guess I'm
It's
not gonna
bad
be
when I
like
have
that,
to
but
justify Uncle from Another World being here because I'm like, well, at least it's probably a comedy.
yeah,
Unlike Dress Up Darling.
yeah, I would. And I'd say the thing I laughed at the most this year, which was Bocchi the Rock, and it's not fucking eligible,
It's
and
not
so
here. So
yeah, not much I can do about that one, unfortunately. So yeah, that's the thing I would have voted here, not eligible. So Love is War, the only other thing that probably made me laugh more than once.
yeah, Love is War is probably, if I'm voting on things based on them being a comedy, Love is War probably wins this over anything in the past year.
Yeah.
All right,
moving
drama.
on to best drama. So Crunchyroll has animated. God, Crunchyroll has nominated 86 Part 2, Attack on Titan Final Season Part 2, Cyberpunk, Dance Dance Dancer, Kotaro Lives Alone, and Made in Abyss Season 2. Now, why Kotaro Lives Alone is in comedy and drama, I have no fucking clue. Com sounds awful.
Comdrom is terrible. So I already mentioned if Summertime Rendering was eligible, it would almost certainly be here. And there's a couple sports shows that
I refuse to believe more than 2 people watched Dance Dance Dancer on the judge list. They definitely just put it here to be quirky.
Yeah. Well, so the problem is that means that the judges voted for Kotaro Lives Alone, which maybe
maybe I don't know.
I'm having a problem. Which one is our quirky pick, Daniel?
Both of them are way too quirky for me. I don't know. I didn't watch Kotaro Lives Alone, and I didn't watch Dance with Dancer. So, like, I'm not going to say they can't be here. I'm just saying I don't believe the judges actually watch these.
I don't know if 86 Part 2 being here makes me feel better or worse about the fact that it's the first time we've actually seen it in this awards nomination.
Yeah, so I voted for it in my video simply because I already voted Made in Abyss as like best continuing. So I wanted to give something else.
I think 86 deserved something, and the fact that I think it's only in this category, maybe in one other, I'm not sure.
It's only this category.
That's what I was thinking. Is sad to me.
Yeah. I mean, Made in Abyss obviously would have been, just to be nice, I gave it to 86. But Made in Abyss is my anime of the year, so it's like, of course, it's the best drama.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk and Attack on Titan are good too. I think these are fine. I think the fact that I haven't seen Kotaro Lives Alone and Dance Dance Dancer definitely doesn't help. But I
think the fact that Kotaro Lives Alone has this little goofy chibi poster also doesn't help.
It does not help me see this as a drama.
Maybe it's a fantastic com-dram, and that's like something I never knew I needed in my life. But just looking at it, I'm like, why are you here?
Yeah, I mean, surely there's something else that we could have voted. I don't know. Anyway, but moving on, let's see.
Best Fantasy.
They have nominated
first appearance
Demon Slayer, Made in Abyss, Mushoku Tensei Part 2, Overlord 4, Ranking of Kings, and Vanitas. So fantasy is always like fantasy's a wide fucking like vague term because there's a lot of different types of. Well, yes, isekai counts. Mushoku Tensei is an isekai, but like anyway, that's not what I mean. I mean like Demon Slayer is like the most copium form of fantasy because technically it is a contemporary fantasy. It's a fantasy set in the real world, in like a more modern era, but it's like the only thing it adds really is demons, and that's not that crazy.
I would have very much preferred Demon Slayer not be in here because 3 of these anime have not shown up at all, and Mushoku Tensei had a really good, I think it is only Part 2 here. I think Part 2 is the only one that
Part 2 is the only one that Part 2 is the only thing
at
eligible.
All.
Yeah.
But Part 2 was pretty good. I think it deserved a little love, even though Mushoku Tensei is not exactly my favorite thing. Overlord 4 had a good season.
I don't know. It's like
it's going to be disappointing if Demon Slayer, because
Demon
it's
Slayer
popular,
wins,
takes best
fuck Demon
fantasy
Slayer.
over 5 actual fantasy anime.
My villain arc starts if Demon Slayer wins best fantasy.
Listen, you better start early.
I feel like
I don't know if it counts as a fantasy, but I think Shadow's House 2 would have been nice to put here.
I guess it would technically be a fantasy. Just because
it's another kind of scope definition.
It's like, I would say it fits in the bill of contemporary fantasy. And I don't know much about Vanitas. It might fit in that same bill as well.
I'm pretty sure it does, but I don't know enough about it to say
I didn't watch it, so I don't know. I would say out of all of these, the one that I feel like fits, I said this like twice in my fucking video, but the one that fits the fantasy bill for me the most is Mushoku Tensei, with how it's
Mushoku Tensei is
done.
like he's one of, in my opinion, the textbook fantasy isekai, whatever, of that genre that I would, if someone asked me what a fantasy show is about, Mushoku is what I would think of for an example.
There's a lot of like a world exploration, which is like that's like my it's like the thing that gets me. I really love when a fantasy shows its world. That's the whole fucking point of a fantasy. If you are not adding stuff to your, because that's like, contemporary fantasies are cool and all. If you can like mix fantasy elements with like a more modern setting, that's all great and everything. But to craft an entirely different world and to have all your own different stuff in there and to show it off, I feel like that's one of the biggest draws to fantasy, because it's something completely different that you know nothing about, and you're there to learn and have fun learning about it. It's an adventure story following characters on an adventure, but you're going on an adventure because you're learning about all these different things. And so I feel like it fits the most there. Overlord has an interesting world. I just don't care about the content as much with Overlord, and so I would definitely put Mushoku over that. And then Maiden Abyss doesn't show as much of, like, the most fantasy element to it is this big ass hole with a bunch of wacky shit in it. It still fits like as a fantasy, but I feel like Mushoku is like more.
Mushoku is very fantasy, and for that reason, I feel very drawn to vote for it here.
Yeah, I feel like
because even Osama ranking, I would call it fantasy, but I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would give it the definition of fantasy if I was doing it myself, right?
Yeah, I would say Mushoku Tensei does its job as a fantasy the best out of all of these that I've seen, at least. But like, just in general terms, yeah. But let's see. Next up, we have Best Romance. We have nominated by Crunchyroll, Call of the Night, Love is War, Komi, Love After World Domination, Dress Up Darling, and Shikamori. I was very surprised to see Shikamori here, because as far as I know, everyone and their mother fucking hates Izumi, the main character. Bless his soul.
I actually think these when I was looking at romance animes, I actually think this is a pretty good set of 6. I don't know if Call of the Night is much of a romance anime.
It is, but I said in my video that I was more interested in everything that wasn't the romance. But the whole point of it is like he wants to become a vampire, but in this world, the way you become a vampire is by you have to fall in love with one, and then they bite you, and then you can become a vampire. And so there's this guy who knows fucking absolutely nothing about that type of stuff. He's like really dejected from the world, and so he's trying to learn to love this vampire or whatever. So you can.
It's also possible like Shikamori just got nominated partially. I mean, were there other options you guys had, or it's like a lot of the times it's like not the specific focus, or like romance can be an aspect, and it's like,
I mean, there were things that we could have put here, but in terms of things where romance was the focus, there wasn't anything.
Yeah, it's like the focus versus like aspects. Yeah,
that I think the top romance of the year for me was Love After World Domination, which is already on here. But I think Love After World Domination was pretty good, and it is almost the only really, really good thing about it is the romance plotline. So I'd love to see it here, but other options were like.
I think I'm surprised not to see. Oh, no, fuck, absolutely not.
Rent a Girlfriend season 2.
Dear Lord, thank fuck it's not here.
Exactly. Like I feel like everything I'm seeing on here that could have been another option, I would rather have just switched to Komori.
That Takagi 3 didn't make it. I feel like it could have made it over something here. And then there's a world where Engage Kiss didn't suck at the end.
Flopped and it would have been here.
It was Engage Kiss was a wild ride. It fucking not very good first couple episodes.
It was bad, and then it was good.
It was bad, and then it started getting good. I'm like, holy shit! It's gonna be like the first thing to ever start dog shit and then become really good. And then no, then it flopped entirely.
I'm kind of surprised that Dance Dance Dancer isn't here. That's probably as I'm looking through this, another decent option that there could have been. But I don't know too much about that. I just know it is a romance. It is a rom-com to some degree, but I don't know how like important either of those plot lines are.
Yeah, out of all of these, I would say Love is War. I didn't watch Love After World Domination, so I can't speak to that one, but I didn't care.
Love is War probably deserves to win it, but I really liked the romance in Love After World Domination. So
yeah,
I would probably vote Kaguya, but I'm really happy that Love After World Dom got a nomination because I think it deserves.
Rest in peace to the manga for it.
Yeah, also rest in peace to the manga. Short end, short life. The author's pissed about it because I think it was I don't remember if it was a male or female author. The author had like a lot more they wanted to write, and it just got classic axed unceremonially, and now author's just like, well, fuck. What am I supposed to do with all these things I wanted to write about?
Yeah, but I'd say the Kaguya is like the only like romance I was like invested in, like because like Komi is technically a romance, but it wasn't really like the focus of the season or anything. Call of the Night, I was more interested in the world than the romance. Dress Up Darling, it's a romance, but they're like it's the classic.
It's like classic
dancing around it for 20,000 years.
Yeah,
and Shikimori was like obviously like they're already dating, so very romance.
The difference, Kaguya started the season. Actually, we can't talk about this because Spat probably hasn't watched Kaguya.
We're gonna talk about the
I've only watched a little bit, so yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk
about
the details.
Okay, we won't say anymore.
No spoil.
No spoils. We will not talk about the details of season 3 or any future content. We will instead talk about the best voice acting performance. So I want to say something. I'll say it after. So what they nominated was we have Atsumi Tanizaki, which I believe is Anya's voice actress, Chika Anzai, which is, I believe, Chisato's, Fyro's Eye, which I don't know. It's probably Jolene. I have no fucking clue. So if one of you could fact check that for me. Misaki Kuno in Main Abyss, who was Fapta, Natsuki Hanae, which is Tanjiro in Demon Slayer, and then Yuki Kaiji, who is Eren in Demon Slayer. Or not Demon Slayer, fucking Attack on Titan.
Yes.
Okay, it's Jolene. Okay. So
I
hate that they have specifically shows and not if you're gonna do this format where you only let them have one character to their name, at least show the character instead of the show.
Yeah, I would agree.
But I also think like it should be a wider net than just like they did really good for this one character. No, voice actresses and actors take on seiyus. They take on a lot of shit.
There's some people who will do 4, 5, 6 roles a year.
There are people who will do season, so some people do 6 in a season. Yeah, so I have so out of all of these, I think Misaki Kuno as Fapta is not by and far, but like I think she did the best. There's a lot of emotional range with her character, and I think she hit all the beats perfectly. Obviously, it's not easy to do as an adult. It's very difficult to do a child's voice, and so Anya's voice actress did very good. I just don't think it's enough to justify winning best VA. Same kind of like the same thing with like Chisato. She did a great job as the character. I just don't feel like she had to do much more though than just be like really bubbly and be really good at it. I can't speak to JoJo's. Demon Slayer, they yell a lot. I'm sure his lungs are fucking sturdy as shit. And he's a good voice actor though. He did Shinpei in Summertime Rendering as well, and he did a good job with that. I would say he did better in Summertime Rendering than he does Demon Slayer, but not eligible. And then Yuki Kaiji, obviously, he's just good. Or Yuki Kaji.
Yeah. I don't have too many big opinions on voice actors. I think it's Koki Ozuku who did Ashito from Awashi did a really good job with his character and a lot of the emotional beats that being a manga reader I knew would come from that show. So that's like someone who stood out a little to me as someone, but I think these are probably all good nominations. Yeah, I'm not an expert on Japanese voice acting by any means, so I can't look at these and say anyone's wrong.
I would say, like from what I've watched, these are fine nominations.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like you can say this list could be as long as you fucking want. It just comes down to like which performances were most impactful to you. Probably.
I do agree with you that I think I would like it more if it was a voice actor or voice actress in all of the roles they did over the year. And I think to me that would give me a better picture, especially as a non-Japanese speaker, of like the body of work that a person would have done.
The body of work and like the range of characters, all that type of stuff.
Because like, for example, the voice actress for Kita from Bochi, which obviously isn't eligible, but if it were eligible, she would have done the role for Kita and Bochi and also the role for Lena in 86, among several other shows probably.
Yeah.
But those are the two that I know that would stand out. And to me, those are two really big roles that are very different. And I think she did very well on both of them. Yeah. So to me, if those were both eligible and those were, performances we were looking at, I think that would mean a lot. Yeah. That she did both of those and not just one.
She's also the actual like vocalist for their fake band.
Yes.
So
which to me means a lot also as a idol and music fan.
But anyway, moving on to English. I didn't watch any dubs. So in my video, I'm like,
I see ProZD here.
I like ProZD.
I see ProZD here. We vote ProZD, right?
Yeah.
Wait, Emily, they do like
English
covers of songs, right?
Yeah, so she does English covers. I think she's now part VTuber and part voice actress as well. But she was the voice actress for Marin, I believe.
Who did ProZD voice? Oh, it's Kage. I need to go listen to some of his lines. That actually sounds pretty hype.
But yeah, I don't know. I apologize to all these people. I don't know who you are.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they are all great at their jobs and did fantastic. But one of these people, I watch their YouTube content, and the other 5 I don't. So
I like ProZD's anime opinions, and therefore he is my vote.
Therefore he will get the vote.
He is the most based that I know. But yeah, and then there's these 2 awards. God knows what any
God
of
knows
these.
Anything. Like I said, I feel like Special Achievement Award feels like the type of thing, like a One Piece or something that's just constantly airing. Should be. I know there's that one show that is targeted towards kids that is aired since the beginning of time. Yeah. That probably is also something that should get an award like that. We don't know what the special achievement is. I'm just assuming it's for a show.
We don't know the criteria for either of these awards, so it's like really weird to like. What is presenter's choice? Is it the presenter's anime of the year? Is that like your?
Yeah. Does the presenter just be able to be like? If I was the presenter, do I get to just award it to Extreme Hearts because I want to?
I wonder if like, if there's like more than one presenter or whatever, if they all come together to make their own, like what if they decide the best girl category and then they all voted on it amongst themselves or something like that. Anyway, we'll find out on the day of, I suppose.
It could be fun, but when I don't know what it is, it's hard.
But moving on to best original anime, so we here have Crunchyroll nominations of Birdie Wing, Healer Girl, Licorice Recoil, The Orbital Children, Vampire in the Garden, and Yurei Deco. So the fact that Healer Girl is here speaks volumes to how few good anime originals came out this year.
This is such a painful category for me because I'm pretty sure
not even close. Licorice Recoil is gonna be my vote.
It is. It's gonna be the vote.
Yeah, these are
like Salaryman's Club was an anime original, and I've mentioned it a lot watching this. And it's painful that Birdie Wing is here because that means they were aware of the sports genre when looking at these, but totally ignored what I think was the better anime original sports series.
How does it feel that Healer Girl made it over?
It's absolutely terrible.
Oh my god. Healer Girl was probably the most painful binge I've ever experienced. It is. I should have watched it weekly. I made a huge mistake saving all of it.
Yeah. It's I think Salaryman's Club should have been here, and I think it's, for me, easily the second best original after Licorice Recoil that aired this year.
Yeah, so I'm surprised they didn't like
to some of these, but I'm
Cyberpunk
just surprised. Yeah,
which Cyberpunk probably would have won if it was here, just based on like pure like general popularity. Even if the Licorice has like a strong fan base as well, but
bad video game for it.
But yeah,
Licorice, too bad based on a video game, not original.
Yeah, Licorice Recoil will, without question, win this category. There's literally nothing here that even stands half a chance.
The Orbital
Licorice
Children,
Recoil should get at least 90% of the votes.
I have literally never heard of this in my life.
I don't even know how many fans I have. 2.
Like, I at least heard of all the others. I have no idea what the fuck this is. But anyway, moving on to the big boy. We have Anime of the Year, and nominated by Crunchyroll is Attack on Titan Final Season Part 2, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, Demon Slayer Entertainment District, Licorice Recoil, Ranking of Kings, and Spy Family.
I feel like I've seen these 6 on like 5
Yes, it's the same anime over and over.
It is these six have, which I get it. If these 6 are what you consider to be the best 6 anime, obviously they're going to have a lot of phenomenal things that led into that.
Exactly.
So I get it from that perspective, but also, I don't know.
Yeah, so I looked at it, and of the, I think it was like 16 things that I could justify putting Attack on Titan into, it was nominated for 12 of them. So it has quite the amount of, yeah, I don't know. So
it's similar to like, we were talking about Kaguya, and like, I feel like Kaguya Season 3 should have been.
I don't know how Kaguya, I'm surprised Licorice Recoil made it over something like Kaguya.
And, you know, spoiler, I think Kaguya Season 3 would have been what I voted for my anime of the year.
Out of all of these, alright, so my anime of the year, I've said it multiple times, was Made in Abyss. Made in Abyss wasn't here. So my second option was like, probably like Love is War. Love is War is not here. My third option was Bocchi the Rock. Bocchi the Rock is not eligible. My fourth option would have been 86 Part 2. 86 Part 2 is not here on the thing. And so I am left with nothing else but Attack on Titan as my basic bitch anime of the year pick because of Crunchyroll.
For me, of the things I watched on here, Licorice Recoil was rated the highest. So it's like, I guess I would have to vote for Licorice Recoil or Spy Family maybe. But I don't know. This is kind of a category where it's, I understand why these 6 are here, but I don't know. I felt like Kaguya Season 3 had a fantastic year that I feel like I would have liked voting for them. I feel like Summertime Rendering, even though it's not eligible, would have been a really good nomination here. Made in Abyss, I haven't watched it. I listened to Daniel talk about it a lot. You know, I respect Made in Abyss. I'm sure it deserves to be here.
I'm actually surprised that it's more Kaguya. Like,
that's what I was saying earlier. I feel like Kaguya.
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking, like, damn, it was like 3 or 4, maybe. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like Kaguya
like,
got
music
like
or something would be like
proper
there,
amount
like, you know,
of love.
Other aspects of it,
yeah.
If not a little underloved, but with these choices, it's probably Spy Family or Licorice Recoil for me, and I don't particularly like voting for one of those 2 as my anime of the year. But sometimes you can just deal with what. You can only deal with what the nominations are.
Yeah, these are the cards that are dealt. You have to play them in some capacity.
The judges dealt.
Yeah, the judges have dealt us terrible choices throughout the entire thing for the most part.
We blame them. We blame them.
Yes,
I think
bring the Gochuucast on. We'll fix the whole thing.
Exactly. I think in order I would have had like Kaguya Season 3, 86 Part 2, Summertime Rendering, and then after that would probably be Licorice Recoil, and then Spy Family.
Yeah.
That might not be the order I voted, but
Step 1, change the eligibility criteria. That's the that would solve half of these.
Like, I think the problem is now whenever they change the eligibility criteria, a whole season is going to get eliminated, or they're just going to add a season.
I mean, it's just
you can't, when you go back, if you go back to having just like the full year, you are going to have to take a hit one of those years with an overload of anime, which at that point you either have to cope with that and just have things get snubbed for no good reason, or you have to make your award a little bit bigger, maybe like
I
8
would
nominations.
I would much rather have these awards happen in like February or March if it meant that
Well,
the
actual
actual calendar year
the
was
ceremony
respected.
is in March, so surely they could have. I don't know, dude. It's so dumb.
Clueless.
They're trying. I guess it's like the recency bias thing, but it's like it's not that crazy to where your awards are gonna suck anyway. You may as well just have all of them there. Like,
Yeah,
at least let me vote for the things I want to vote for. Yeah. Because, like, obviously recency bias does play a little bit. Like, I think when Licorice was airing and finished, I was much higher on it than before. Like, when I sat back and like, I don't agree with what they did there. But, it wasn't a long enough, like, it would have been, in the few weeks leading up to, like, waiting for these awards, I would have been like, okay, I can understand, like, looking at things objectively, that maybe this was a problem here or there, and I wouldn't have that recency bias. Not everyone would have that, but you gotta, like, most of the people voting for these awards don't give a shit, right? They're gonna vote for their favorite shonen and they're gonna move on with their lives.
I do think that in this particular instance, the fall season was a lot more stacked than a lot of the other seasons that happened this year, but I also do think that there is a degree of recency bias where if they included the fall, it probably would take a large amount of these categories just because it just happened.
Bochi and Chainsaw Man probably would have been throughout here, and Mob as well. Like those three were like, all three of those together, they would have probably Anime of the Year contenders. Here.
Yeah, and to be fair, they probably deserve to take a lot of these things, but it is true that they may have. If they were here, it may have gone overboard just because of the fact that Crunchyroll is such a big platform. And so it's not like only the dedicated watch 20, 30 seasonals a season fans are going to be voting. It's also going to be the people who just watch their favorite shonen every year and maybe like one or two things that break out on social media.
Yeah. But all in all, we can't do much about anything. I'm gonna fucking write my own video or whatever for like the top 10 best new things, just so I can, it's just
talk.
It's nice to talk about some of the newer things that came out instead of, like, obviously there were a lot of sequels that were very good. I mentioned obviously Made in Abyss multiple times throughout. Attack on Titan we saw 1,000 times, Demon Slayer, etc. But everyone knows about those things, and so it's more fun to talk about the newcomers in the scene. But that has nothing to do with Gochuucast. What does have to do with Gochuucast is that we have set a new record for longest episode, and I'm going to have quite the file on my hands when I export this and upload it to YouTube.
Did we break 2 hours?
Good luck.
Oh yeah, we're almost at 210.
Yeah.
So that lasted quite some fucking time. And I can't wait to... God, it was nearly 50 minutes ago that I said a bad word that I need to remove. So, just to give some context on how long we've been going. But, yeah. Anyway. Just, like... I don't fucking know. We're in the end of the episode. If you enjoyed, subscribe. Like the video. Rate 5 stars on audio-only platform. If you are audio-only... I want to see the visual side of things here, because there's a lot of that in this episode. Then you can go to our YouTube at Is the Order an Anime Podcast. Can't fucking miss it. We're the only one. If you'd like to go to our audio only side of things, maybe you're on the go, even though you're usually a YouTube viewer, you can go to the links below to give you our Anchor, which will have links to our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And yeah, we will see you on Saturday, 3 p.m. EST, as always, in the next episode. Thank you, and goodbye.